Rocket 1025 KKCI FM, Goodland, Colby, and NWKS radio station.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. One is 5 years old, the other a 6-year-old. Two little boys in extremely critical condition after a shooting at a small private school in Palermo in Northern California. The NYPD hunting for the gunman who killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson happened yesterday morning outside a Midtown Manhattan hotel, and police say it was a targeted attack. Despite some help from its friends, Iran and Russia, Syria's army continues falling back in the face of a rebel offensive. The Syrian army confirms its withdrawal from the central city of Hama after rebel fighters shattered its defenses. If there's a ceiling for Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency hasn't found it yet. Bitcoin topping $100,000 per coin. That's a record. On Wall Street, Dow futures down 34 points. The NASDAQ futures are off 12. More details, srnnews.com.
So right now, maybe...
Rocket 1025.
With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. Bright sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 40. Southeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 22. High temperatures reach up to 54 tomorrow. Ample sunshine expected. Dry with temps well above average Saturday and Sunday, and highs from the upper 50s to the low 60s. Take a look at the extended forecast. 43 Monday, 42 Tuesday, and 48 on Wednesday. Another look at the short range. We should top off around 40 today, a low of 22 tonight, a high of 54 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Currently, it's 21 degrees.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15's. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Carbon monoxide, or CO, is a silent killer. CO is a deadly gas with no scent, color, or taste, and common CO sources are poorly vetted gas furnaces, propane space heaters, gas grills, and portable generators, and exhaust from automobiles. It's important to make sure you have a working CO detector in your home. Change your CO detector's batteries each year and check your detector's expiration date and replace as needed. A safety message from Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative making energy work for you.
Ready to elevate your drive? Hurl Chevrolet GMC has unbeatable offers on the 2024 lineup. Right now, get 0% APR on the powerful GMC Sierra 1500 with a 5.3-liter engine, plus over $3,200 in trade assistance when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Or step up to the 2024 Yukon with 5.9% APR for 72 months and make no payments for 90 days. These are the deals you've been waiting for to drive the best of GMC. Visit Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas today or online at hurlchev.com.
Have you heard of Van the Morton Man? Back in Colby, where the legacy began. 100 years strong, building right, building grand. When you build with Morton, it's always as planned. From barns to workshops, garages to sheds, Morton's quality where every smart builder heads. Owned by employees, their hearts in each frame, a warranty that shines, a well-known name. So choose Morton Buildings with a history so vast, quality and care that's always meant to last. Meet them today and get your plan in hand. Crafted with pride by Van the Morton Man.
This holiday season, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has the perfect gifts to make Christmas merry and bright. Need something special for that grill master? Check out their top line of grills and griddles from Blackstone, Traeger, and Weber. Guaranteed to make their holiday sizzle. Stocking stuffers, they've got you covered with tools, gadgets, and must-haves for every DIYer in your life. And tackle winter head-on with their powerful Eco snowblowers, perfect for clearing the way this season. Plus, spruce up your home for the holidays with a fresh coat of Benjamin Moore paint or get ready for the new year with a stunning remodel. Enjoy the holidays this year with Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware with locations in Goodland and Colby.
Merry Christmas from the Farmers State Bank in Oakley. We invite you to stop into our lobby for coffee and cookies throughout the month of December as our small way of saying thank you to our loyal customers. We appreciate your business in 2024 and throughout our 117 years of community banking and look forward to serving you in the new year. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Being a Nebraska football fan these past few years and watching this team week in and week out, I kind of compare it to like doing drugs. You know you shouldn't do it, but you can't stop. Kids, don't do drugs.
The region's only local sports talk.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Broadcasting on Goodlands 1025. Simulcasting on Goodlands 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Fakes the three. Fires it from the corner. Yes!
To the pros.
They set up the screen. McLaughlin has it with Miners in front. McLaughlin's got a first down. Inside the 10. Inside the 5. Touchdown Denver.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work. Trout took out the legs of Adams. Zeke a 3 off the bounce. Bullseye. Zeke Mayo from 24 feet. Oh, baby.
Here's Diarra outside the arc. And he fires it on a backdoor cut to Samson Johnson, who slams it home. And UConn extends their lead to 66 to 62.
They'll bring it back out to Kurt. Shot fake. Now a 3-ball left wing. Yes!
Big time. Mayo drives to the head of the circle, plays back to the wand. Kansas down 3. Into KJ. Little jump stop. Right hand runner. Good. It's a 9-0 KU run.
Boy, it was a great night of college basketball last night. Big time games. Just not the outcome that many people in these parts wanted as the Kansas Jayhawks fall to the Creighton Blue Jays. Max, what did I say yesterday? What did I say? I said, you can't let Creighton get going from 3 or they're going to bury you, and that's exactly what happened. Pop Isaacs popped off and went nuts, particularly in the first half. I think he made 6 threes when it was all said and done, and the Kansas Jayhawks, the number 1 team in the country, goes down. That is the second time that the Blue Jays within the last 365 days have knocked off a number 1 team. They beat they beat UConn last year there at the CHI Health Center, and now they've taken down Kansas. I think for the first time in 75 years, they take down the Jayhawks last night. Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. Ross Volkmer, Max Gershon with you. A chilly start to this December 5th. Temperatures in the low to mid-20s at this point in time. We're going to be making our way up to around 40 degrees today. Coldest day of the week. So wear your warm clothes today. It'll get warmer and stay anywhere in around the 50s or 60s, it looks like, for the foreseeable rest of this week. But I'm great. I'm doing fine. Max, I'm sure, is depressed. We've got a full show ahead today. We will get to KU and Creighton. We have a real quick recap of National Signing Day and what's going on there. We've got some thoughts and audio from Lincoln Cure as he decides to stay with Kansas State, all to get to. Our good friend from Big 12 Today on TuneIn, James Wessling, is going to join us to talk about the Big 12 football championship coming up here this weekend and his thoughts on Big 12 basketball as well, all coming up here in segment 2. And we're going to have an NFL Power 5 in the very last segment. It might be a Power 3, but it's going to be very fast. I will tell you that much because I have a feeling we're going to go long on some stuff here, particularly in segment number 1. But let's just get to the process. Let's get to the confessional and let's hear what Max, our resident KU fan, has to say about last night's performance.
Well, good morning, Ross.
Morning.
It's just it was one of those games. No one had it going. No one was playing well. Nothing went KU's way. Out the gates, they were just jumped by Creighton. The team with more energy. The team with they were hitting their shots. KU wasn't hitting their shots. KU couldn't even make a layup the entire game. I don't know if I've seen that many missed layups in a basketball game in a long time. Nothing was going KU's way. Really, like I said, no one played well. And that's going to happen in basketball. And you're going to have games where.
What do you mean nobody played well? Wando had 15 points.
Who did?
Wando.
Yeah, DeJuan. Yeah, but that's not when I feel like DeJuan's playing well. It's not when he needs to be shooting 21 shots.
DeJuan Harris was 6 of 21. So that's not good. That's actually horrific.
Exactly.
And first, and probably even before that, when DeJuan Harris is leading you in scoring, it's not a good day.
Never good. And I just don't think, it is what it is. Creighton's a good basketball team. I know they lost to Nebraska, kind of fell down the rankings. Pop Isaac, credit to him, played incredible. No one could guard him on KU. KU was missing Riley Griffin. Does that make a difference of the entire outcome of the game? Absolutely not. But yeah, they just got beat. Hunter Dickinson only having 4 shots is terrible. He only shot, I don't even know how that's physically possible that Hunter Dickinson only put up 4 shots when DeJuan Harris is putting up 21. That doesn't make sense. You know who I thought actually played a good game for KU? Zach Clemens. Zach Clemens came off the bench and actually I thought played pretty solid for his standards especially. So props to him for still playing hard, even though no one else really mentally showed up to that game. But yeah, KJ Adams to me, I know he scored 22 against Duke, and I know he is one of the best players on this team, and he is extremely talented, extremely gifted. There's not really a shot that I would want him to take over anyone else on the team. What I'm saying is he's shooting so much that those shots need to be Zeke Mayo or AJ Storr. They need to be the scorers. KJ needs to kind of find his role again on this team. Last year, they relied on him a little more because they had to. This year, you don't need KJ to be shooting jumpers, and you don't need him to be aggressively driving. Get rebounds, play some defense, play strong. That's what KJ Adams needs to do. And I just think he's shooting the ball way too much of late.
Like I said yesterday, the things that stood out to me, number one, was you can't let Creighton get going from 3, and that has to start at the very beginning. From the tip, you have to have hands and faces. You cannot have hands down. Hand down, man down is what's going to happen if you do that against Creighton. They're going to bury threes early, and if they get going early, it means it's probably going to happen often. And I said they can't allow them to hit more than probably 7 or 8 threes. Well, last night they buried 12 of them, and that's still a low night for this Creighton team. Pop Isaacs popped off, like I said, 6 of 9 from 3, 27 points to lead the way. I think that, like I mentioned before, the big concerns for me from Kansas's perspective, DeJuan Harris taking 21 shots, that should not be that way. He needs to be more of a facilitator. And Hunter Dickinson looked disinterested. That is a massive problem. This is Hunter Dickinson's, 12th year in college? If not, it's probably number 6 or 7. He didn't look interested last night going up against Ryan Kolkbrenner, who, by the way, pretty much had to do everything but take some sort of drugs to get on the floor because he was in so much pain prior to the game. And he goes out there and gets a double-double of 17 and 10. So you can say what you want. This was a tough place to play against an opponent who was hungry, and they needed this win because they had a swoon over the last few weeks and finally got off the floor with that win against Notre Dame. They needed this win to help their resume. Otherwise, it didn't look great for Creighton. They wanted it more than Kansas did, and Kansas was just not really interested, it seemed like at times. And I think because it's hard to be interested when, first and foremost, Creighton comes out and buries a bunch of threes. They throw the haymaker punch, as I like to say. Boom, right out of the gate. They ding, out of the corner. Bam, sock it right to the jaw, and then you're on the floor, and it's hard to get back up, and especially when shots are not falling on your end. So that was a big thing.
They had energy for about a minute and a half coming out of the coming out of halftime, when they went on that 9-0 run to start the game, and then, Creighton comes back with a 9-0. So, it was just a great job from Creighton of responding to all the punches that KU did drop in the first half and the beginning of the second half. And yeah, they just were the hungrier team really when it comes down to it. I think this is something that needs to be fixed soon because, there's going to be a lot tougher teams and a lot more tough environments, you could say. Yeah, in the Big 12. Are you kidding me?
Have you looked at the Big 12 this year so far?
Yeah.
Is the Big 12 really as good as we think it is in previous years? It's still a good league. Don't get me wrong. Is it as good? Last night Baylor lost at UConn.
Against UConn, who
Let's see.
UConn lost
you
2
take
games.
out Iowa
but
State. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying the Big 12 is a bad league. It is still a good league. I just don't know if it's on the same level it's been in the past few years.
That's fine, but I'm saying Creighton is still unranked, and even if there is an unranked Big 12 team, they're still at
Creighton is probably a top 25 team when it's all said and done.
Sure, but so is even though Houston struggled to start the year, but that's still going to be a tough game on the road. There's a bunch of games that are going to be hard in the Big 12.
I'm not saying that they're not hard, but you're saying that they're going to be a lot harder than that. And I'm saying
I think that there's a lot that Baylor's going to be harder, and so is Iowa State for sure will be harder.
There's 2. That's not a lot.
Well, let's see this.
Arizona's having a down year so far this year. That doesn't mean you can't pick yourself up the mat and get going again, but you can look at the Big 12 standings. They really haven't been that great as a league.
Yeah, but it's a long season still. They can still get high. But I'm just saying the talent in there's more talent on the court in the Big 12 than you're going to see against a Creighton team. It is what it is. Iowa State is obviously the toughest one. Baylor is going to be hard. And then there's Houston. Yeah, like I said, Houston. I'm trying to see. There are some teams that have definitely fallen off in the Big 12 from the start already. BYU is still a good team.
Like I said, but I don't know. It's a tough loss for Kansas. Congratulations, Creighton, on a good win. I love the fact that by the transitive property, this makes Nebraska better than Kansas because Nebraska beat Creighton. Does that mean the Creighton beat Kansas? So that means Nebraska's better than Kansas. I love that. That's great. Thank you, transitive property. That means absolutely nothing. It was a really good night, though, last night in college basketball. Lots of big-time matchups and big-time games for just kind of a random Wednesday night in early December. Iowa State Marquette was a top 10 matchup. Iowa State win by 11. They're probably looking like with Kansas, probably the 2 best teams in the Big 12 right now. Duke held off Auburn in a top 10 matchup, 84-78. Oregon came all the way back. They were down most of the game. They ended up beating USC by 8. Alabama, North Carolina was a top 25 matchup. Easy win for Bama. I mentioned UConn, Baylor, and that was a tight game throughout. UConn pulled it out in the very end, but there were some good games last night in college basketball for just kind of a random Wednesday night in early December. So anyway, Kansas loses 76-63. That means that the Jayhawks are now 7-1, and they will, which I don't think hurts them that bad there, but they do have another tough road test on the road at Missouri coming up here. That's the next game coming up here on Saturday. Or no, that's Sunday. That's Sunday. Take that back. That is on Sunday, Sunday morning, actually. Kansas, Missouri. The Tigers, by the way, are 7-1 on the season at this point in time. So should be an interesting matchup there from Columbia at Mizzou Arena. All right, I want to move on into some college football and some National Signing Day yesterday. Early National Signing Day is really what it is. National Signing Day is actually in February. But this has kind of become like National Signing Day where a lot of kids sign when the early window opens. And yesterday was the first day that you could sign your letter of intent. And of course, the big story we had early on yesterday talking about it was the news of Lincoln Cure and would he stay with Kansas State? Would he be going to Oregon after taking some visits and having lots of conversations with Oregon? Would he be sticking around and completing his commitment? And the answer yesterday, we learned probably, I don't know, maybe around 8:30, 9:30 Mountain Time that he would be sticking with Kansas State and staying with his initial decision that he made back in June. And I have some thoughts on his commitment to Kansas State here, but I want to, first of all, thank you, Lincoln, for stopping and visiting with me for a little bit about his commitment. Right after he got done signing, he sat down with me for about 5 to 10 minutes, and we had a nice little conversation talking about things. I'm going to play some audio for you. Some of these are some pretty long clips, but Lincoln talking about why he ended up picking Kansas State when it was all said and done.
Honestly, for me, Oregon and K-State were two completely different routes, right? Oregon, they have what I want to do academically. They have great football facility, coaching staff.
Number one team in the nation.
Yeah, number one team in the nation. I'll just put it that way. But yeah, it's super far away. It was kind of my route to just, kind of get away from everything and just play some football. And then K-State kind of had a lot of other things to it. I'm close to family, close to a lot of relatives and friends, and still a good football school. it's kind of where I can have an impact more as a person than anything. And that kind of stood out to me. And, I prayed about it, and I took all those visits and everything like that and made my decision in the summer. And, I looked back at that, and that ultimately, helped me make my decision. I thought, that's where I had the greatest feeling, even after the season and everything like that. I need to stand by that, and I think that's what God wanted me to do.
Yeah, I think, and one more before we discuss a little bit more, but one was, I think most people don't know that how difficult of a decision this was, how neck and neck of a race this was prior to him officially signing with Kansas State yesterday morning.
It was extremely hard. Like, for example, for last night, I was on the phone with Coach Lanning and Coach Maringer, the tight ends coach, for 3 hours combined. So a lot of conversation went into that. And but they'd call me every week. They'd see how I was doing, and not just the two coaches. Their whole staff would reach out, and that always meant a lot to me. And a lot of people don't understand how close of a decision this was. But I had a whole Oregon commitment graphic made, ready to post, and but ultimately it came down to the decision I made.
Yeah, I think, once again, this was an extremely difficult decision. My 2 cents on it was family is very important to the Cure family. It's a big family, extended family. It's huge. His grandma and grandpa, Lincoln's grandma and grandpa, have, I think, like 50-some grandkids. I mean, it's a humongous family. And so family is very important to the Cure family. And I think sticking a little bit closer to home was probably, I think, the thing that probably pushed it over the edge. Because you hear him talk about Oregon, and the thing stood out to me, you're going to college, get an education, play football, and you want to have a chance maybe go play professional. And so you want to go someplace that's going to develop you. Well, check on all those things for Oregon. They had exactly what he wanted to do academically. He had, Oregon is the number 1 team in the country. They got great coaches there, and they send plenty of guys to the pros every single season. And so I have no doubt, but once again, I think family was the thing that pushed it over the edge when it comes to making that decision yesterday for Lincoln. I do have 2 more pieces of audio, one more from Lincoln. I had to ask him, because you're dealing with Oregon and Uncle Phil. I don't know if anybody else read any of the articles about what Uncle Phil Knight does for the Oregon football team and what he's going to do for some of the top recruits coming in for that program. But I had to ask Lincoln about NIL and how much of that, if all, played an impact when it came to making a decision, because it is brought up in every single recruiting conversation, and any kid that's getting recruited, that at least it gets popped up at some point in time.
NIL, for me, I never really let it play a factor in it, and it's a crazy deal nowadays. It can get really, really crazy, but I took a lot less choosing K-State in a lot of areas, and a lot of people don't know that. They'll probably think that K-State had brought up more money or something to get over Oregon, but that wasn't the case. I took a lot less, and because it really doesn't matter to me. I'm there to play football. I'm there to make an impact. I'm there to make the NFL, right? The money comes. If that's something that's on my mind, then I'm doing it wrong.
He's exactly right. And I could agree. I completely nod with that entire statement that he had. But yeah, I have a feeling that there was a lot of money left on the table if that was something that he wanted from Oregon. Would have no doubt.
Yeah, that's that's my first time hearing from Lincoln about all this. So first of all, props to you, Ross, for those are fantastic questions that you asked. And that's just a lot of respect to him, man. For a high schooler to have those values set and that big of a decision, that's incredible to hear. And it's kind of it's just great to hear from a kid his age to still know that if his end goal is to make the NFL, so the money's going to come, he's sticking with K-State because he cares about his family and he wants to be close to his family and all those values of still being close to home. It's just, that's just awesome. That's really awesome stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people love to hear those things, including myself. So great stuff.
Here's the thing. Fantastic. Like, if he would have decided to go to Oregon, I would have had no issue with it. And I don't think many people would have either from this original area. Yeah, a lot of people in Manhattan would have had some issues. And it's, I think Lincoln is he's a good person at heart. And I think he probably sat there and thought, I already said I was going to go to K-State back in June. I think he had a hard time saying, I can't go back on my word.
Right. Do you think that if he didn't verbally commit that he'd be at Oregon?
I don't know. To me, like when I have a tough decision, I think a lot of people do this. You get a sheet of paper, you draw a line down the center, and you do positives of both. What if you look at this, and there's a lot of check marks that go towards Oregon. But the weight of the family check mark, I think, played a humongous part in just my reading of the situation.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
what I see. By the way, you can hear that entire interview. I've got it posted on our website at ndbksradio.net. You can find it in the blogs page. I did a little story with Lincoln on that. You can also follow us on social media at Ross Volkmer on X or NWBK Sports on X, and then we've got that posted there. You can listen to that full interview. He also talks about what he thought of K-State this year on the 8-4 season. Kind of talk about how he thought it was a young team that's coming up. I asked Lincoln how he expects K-State to use him. And I thought that was interesting because I think the coach has even talked to him about possibly having his first ever touchdown in Dublin, Ireland at the Aer Lingus Classic, which to me is just going to blow my mind. If Lincoln Cure is out there and catching a touchdown in Ireland in his first ever college football game, that will blow my mind.
It
will blow my mind. And then I got one more piece of audio before we move on here, but I saw a clip of Coach Kleiman giving his thoughts on the addition of Lincoln Cure to his recruiting class, and they asked about the process to Coach Kleiman on getting Cure into the boat, and this is what Coach Kleiman had to say about Lincoln Cure's commitment to Kansas State yesterday.
Really thrilled. You get a 5-star in-state, and there's not many of those that come from the state of Kansas, and thrilled for the Cure family, thrilled for our program, fan base, whatever it may be, that the kid did a great job. I thought Lincoln did a good job of doing his due diligence, and that's what young men are doing now, and I'm good with that. There was conversations the whole time, but in the end, it came down to what his heart told him it was going to come down to, of where I committed to. I went through this whole process in the summer and found the school that I wanted to be at, and how we're going to utilize him. He can be a flex guy. He can be a kind of a pseudo wide receiver as he develops from a weight and strength standpoint to be an inline tight end. I think that his versatility is going to be so important for what we do offensively, and we can highlight guys like that. And the fact that he's just, he's one of the best athletes in the country, not in the state, in the country. Speed, size, strength, ability to jump, run, all those things. So we're excited about getting him.
He definitely has all the attributes to be one of the best athletes in the country. That is for sure. But I thought those were some interesting comments from Coach Kleiman. I couldn't agree more. I think his first year, or maybe even two, we're going to see him play more outside before he gets on the inline of the tight end. Particularly, he's going to run track here in the spring, and he'll want to get some weight cut off so he can run the hurdles. He was joking with me. Hard to run the hurdles at 245 pounds, Ross. I said, yeah, you're probably right. That'd be pretty hard to do. So, I think we could see him at the wide receiver spot starting out for Kansas State here in the next year or two, which, once again, I'm intrigued to follow this story for many reasons. I'm intrigued to follow the story for what does a kid who played 3A football in Kansas, in Western Kansas, where the population is pretty sparse at times, how does that stack up against some of the best in the country? Out here, you're one of one. But in the K-State locker room, you're one of, not just 105, but of the top ones, you're one of what, 35, 40 of the top players in the locker room. And I'm so fascinated to follow this story and see how it all stacks up. How much of an impact will he make? I think he'll make an impact, but how much of an impact will that be? Yeah. And the other thing, people are, everyone's excited about him committing to Kansas State, and it's great. I have no problem with that. I would just also remind people, he may not end up being there when it's all said and done when he graduates. The transfer portal allows people to move around freely. So is there still a chance he could go to Oregon? Of course there is. Things may go to Kansas State, may not work out, and he may go to Oregon. Once again, he didn't tell me that. This is all my own perspective. But this is the way of college football and college athletics nowadays. Rarely do you start at one place and end it. Now, if there is a place that does it well, it's Kansas State. And I think Coach Kleiman's a big reason for that. I think he's a great father figure for a lot of those guys. And I think that's why I think he does a lot of good things for his program. But just some fascinating audio yesterday from Lincoln Cure. And once again, if you want to hear more of that interview and more of Lincoln's thoughts after yesterday's signing ceremony, you can go to ndbksradio.net, go to our blogs tab, and find that information there. But just some really good information and stories there from Lincoln Cure. One more thing too, Max, before we get to, I want to just get some people, fans of college football, curious where your regional team stacked up in recruiting. I did a little bit of research for those out there. Nebraska had the top class of the regional schools. They came in at number 21. They were highlighted by their top player is linebacker Dawson Merritt out of the Kansas City area. Blue Valley, I think, is where he went to. Blue Valley. Might have been Blue Valley North. Anyway, it was a Blue Valley school, Dawson Merritt. Kansas State had the 35th ranked class, of course, led by Lincoln Cure, the 5-star here. Colorado had the 35th ranked, had a good top class as well. They're in the top 40 as well. They were led by their 4-star quarterback commit, Julian Lewis, who recently flipped from USC to Colorado. And Kansas came in at 64th, highlighted by edge rusher Adrian Holly. Now, these are all off of 24/7 Sports composite rankings is where these are coming from. Different websites will have different opinions, Rivals, ESPN, other ones as well. But this is the composite ranking that 24/7 Sports does.
Dawson Merritt is, from Blue Valley.
Blue Valley
High School. But also, talking KU really quick, they're this national signing day, the early national signing day was kind of highlighted by that two-sport Jaden Nickens, who's playing basketball and football. I know I talked about him once on the show. 4-star from California. That's kind of the biggest one. But also Tate
Where's
Nagy.
he going to play at?
KU.
Okay.
KU. But then also committing to KU was Tate Nagy from, I believe, Blue Valley West, I want to say. But that is Matt Nagy's son, offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I know there was a video a couple weeks. I think it was the bye week where a lot of Chiefs players were there watching him play. So that's kind of exciting too. But then they had a bunch of other names as well. But the 4-star, probably the biggest name, and then obviously Matt Nagy's son's pretty cool too.
So there you go. Just a quick little fly around for your 2025 early National Signing Day recruiting with stuff like that. So anyway, any more thoughts and questions on this before you get to James Westling?
No, I just, obviously I'm a KU fan, but I'm going to be rooting for I'm going to be rooting for Lincoln Cure. It's an awesome story and it's been cool. I mean, I was excited just calling that Colby Goodland game. So yeah, I'm super pumped to see what he ends up doing and hopefully ends up Kansas City Chief one day. Sorry, Broncos fans.
All right, let's get to a break. When we come back, we will visit with James Westling of Big 12 Today on TuneIn. Talk with him about the Big 12 football title game coming up, the implications of it, and we'll also talk some Big 12 basketball with James. That's all next here in the Morning Blitz.
The Red Tag Sales Event is going on at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, and the savings are rolling in. Right now, drive home with 0% APR on select popular Chevy models, making it the perfect time to upgrade. Or take advantage of 1.9% APR for 60 months, plus over $3,700 total value when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Imagine the possibilities in a new Chevy from trucks to SUVs, all with these amazing savings. Stop by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, and find your perfect match. Or online at hurlchev.com.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Thursday, December 5th. And on the overnight last night, March corn higher $0.25 to $4.30 1/4. May up $0.5 $4.36. July up $0.5 $4.38 3/4. September unchanged at $4.25 1/2. And December of 2025 corn unchanged at $4.29. March soybeans up 3 1/4 on the overnight at $9.93. May up 2 3/4 at $10.04 1/4. July up 2 1/4 at $10.16. August up 2 at $10.13 1/2. Chicago wheat, the March contract higher 3 1/4 on the overnight at $5.51 1/2. May up 4 at $5.61. July up 4 1/4 at $5.67. September up 4 at $5.79 1/2. Kansas City wheat, the March contract higher 4 1/2 at $5.47. May up 4 1/2 at $5.54 1/2. July up 3 3/4 at $5.61 1/2. September hard wheat up 3 1/2 at $5.74. On the stock market, the Dow down $53 this morning at 45,053. The S&P down 3 at 6,095. The Nasdaq down 14 at 21,523. Gold lower $4 an ounce at 2,671, and crude oil up 1 cent a barrel at 69.05. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Pluto, Jared Law, or Kevin Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
LivestockMarket.com puts you in control when buying or selling commercial livestock, seed stock, or show stock. The easy-to-use online platform at LivestockMarket.com offers private treaty, online auction, and live auction internet bidding. Animals are sold before they ever leave your place. And with LivestockMarket.com, there's no middleman. Buyers connect directly with livestock and hay producers. There's no easier way to find buyers for cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, and hay. Sell on your terms today with livestockmarket.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Settle in and stay connected with Nextech Wireless and a device on us. Choose from the newest iPhone 16, the Samsung Galaxy S24, or a new tablet on us. Get an extra $100 with your device trade-in, no matter the condition. Nextech Wireless. Home on the range.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's the Morning Blitz with Volkmer.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
Your daily dose of sports.
Thanks to all of those chiming in on the FB Bank text line. Listener Michael, he says he believes that Creighton may have awakened a sleeping giant. Rock chalk is what he says. We'll see if that's the case. And also,
sure hope so.
To Grandpa Dave and Brian listening in. We appreciate those guys tuning in as well here on a Thursday, December the 5th. Once again, going to be a chilly day today. Temperatures right now sitting at 21 degrees on our way to a high in the low 40s here on this Thursday. We're going to try and squeeze in an NFL Power 5 at the end of the show, so hang with us. But right now, it's time to go to the to the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline. We are joined by our good friend from Big 12 today on Tune In, James Westling. Join us to talk about the Big 12 championship and much, much more.
James, thank you so much for hopping on with us here this morning. Tell you, what's it like? Of course, you're a very busy man this time of year with crossover season, football and basketball, everything going on.
Yeah, crossover season is here. It can be the bane of my existence on some days, and other days it's the best time of year. You get basketball and football basically going head to head, and man, it's an exciting week in the Big 12 when you look at the Big 12 and the Big East battle in college basketball. But obviously, kind of buried the lead with the Big 12 championship game this Saturday with Arizona State and Iowa State, two just incredible stories. Iowa State's first 10-win season ever. Arizona State, the last, the preseason last picked team in the Big 12 conference is playing for a conference championship. So it's truly been a historic, really unique year in the Big 12 and really at the national level when you look at college football.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that Big 12 title game here in just a minute, but I want to kind of get your thoughts as we put a bow on the regular season for the Big 12. How do you feel like it went? I mean, I think it kind of went like we thought it would go, be very competitive up and down through the entire league standings. But with that being said, how did that possibly hurt them when it came to the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think the thing that, has hurt the league is just the fact that the teams that finished at the top are teams that nobody had on their radar preseason. I mean, BYU and Iowa State and Arizona State are three teams that were picked no higher than sixth in the Big 12 preseason poll. None of them were receiving votes in the AP Top 25. And so I think the fact that they were so new and had to work their way up when it came to the AP Top 25, the national perception of them as programs, I think that did hurt the league. If it was Utah, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State that were all 10-2, I think this would be a very different discussion. So I think that definitely played a role. I mean, I look at the College Football Playoff Committee and their most recent rankings, and Alabama is currently in the field with 3 losses. They lost to Vanderbilt, who's barely a 500 team. They lost to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns, really weren't even in that game. Oklahoma's a barely above 500 team. And then they have that third loss to Tennessee. If that was anybody other than Alabama, that team wouldn't even be sniffing the college football playoffs. But because of their recent success and where they started in the preseason and just their pedigree, that's why they're there. So I don't think the Big 12 was hurt by the chaos. I think they were hurt by the teams causing the chaos, because it was teams that nobody had on their radar at the beginning of the year.
James Wessling is our guest here on the Morning Blitz, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. If you take out Arizona State, and we'll let you brag about your pick to have Iowa State for the Big 12 title game, we'll let you brag about that here in a little bit. But if there is a team that maybe had a very disappointing year or a very surprising year in a good way, I mean, I guess I want to put it this way. What to you were the biggest surprises when you look back at maybe your preseason predictions to what actually came to fruition here at the end of the regular season?
Oh, I think it's definitely Arizona State. That's an easy answer, just based off that, they were preseason picked last to win this league. They had a young coach in just his second year of being a head coach at any level. He was an offensive coordinator as he kind of, rose through the ranks of the college football coaching world. So just the fact that, Arizona State was so young, especially at the most important position on the field, quarterback. I mean, they're starting a redshirt freshman, a 19-year-old kid in Sam Levitt, who turns 20 later this month. Nobody saw them coming at all. And I think had BYU won the regular season in the Big 12 and they were playing in the conference championship game, I think it would have been BYU. But maybe even more surprising was just I think the teams that ended up at the bottom, especially when you look at UCF had a really strong non-conference, and a lot of people felt like was a dark horse title contender, and they finished the season 4-8, and their coach leaves to take a coordinator position. Oklahoma State won 10 games last year, brought back a ton of seniors, most experienced offensive line in the country, the Doak Walker Award winner, the nation's best running back in Ollie Gordon, and they go winless in this conference. So those were the biggest surprises to me, I think. Oklahoma State's, I don't want to say failures, because that's not really the right word when you look at just all the injuries that they had and misfortune. So I think Oklahoma State at the bottom, and then just the fact that it's Arizona State at the top and BYU towards the top. Those were the biggest surprises to me.
Yeah, I mean, to this Big 12 football title game we have coming up here this weekend between Iowa State and Arizona State, like you said, so many great storylines, whether it's kind of the resurrection of the program there at Iowa State underneath Coach Campbell, or Arizona State completely coming out of nowhere to be in this spot. But what are some of the big storylines that you guys are talking about on Big 12 today when it comes to this Big 12 title game?
Well, the biggest storyline is the fact that Arizona State is not at full strength. They're without Jordan Tyson, who led all FBS receivers in yards the last 6 games of the season. He is an elite receiver, and it's a shame because this would have been an opportunity for him to go out and show the nation just how good he is on a national stage, and he will not get it. He broke his collarbone late in the game against Arizona in Arizona State's regular season finale. So not having him really changes things for Arizona State. I mean, there's a pretty large discrepancy between their number 1 and their number 2 receiver, not just in talent, but in production. I mean, he's just such a huge part of their offense. So that's a shame for Arizona State, but Arizona State's going to lean on Cam Scatterbo, their star running back, who's playing at an All-American level. And Iowa State, their defense is as good as it's been. They finished top 3 in the Big 12 in scoring defense, 7 of the last 8 years now. But their one Achilles heel is they have struggled to stop the run. And they've played some really good running backs. I think 10 of the running backs that Iowa State has seen this season are guys that average over 100 yards and finished with over 1,000 on the regular season. So they've played really good ground games, but they're still 14th in the Big 12 in rushing defense. And so I think they're going to lock in on slowing down Cam Scatterbo and seeing if the redshirt freshman Sam Levitt for Arizona State can win this game. On the flip side, Arizona State's defense is really underrated. They get a lot of negative plays. They're explosive. They've got an elite defensive back in Xavier Alford, who led the nation in fewest completions for a defensive back when the guy that he's guarding is targeted. He's really good. Caleb McCullough is really good, and both teams are just really sound and big and physical in the trenches. So I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's a game that could potentially come down to the final possession, but I do think Arizona State is really going to miss not having their star receiver out there on the field.
With that being said, and with what happened on Tuesday night with the college football playoff rankings coming out, what happens if Arizona State falls to Iowa State? Do you think there's a chance the Big 12 misses the playoff altogether?
No, I don't, because it's the top 5 conference champions. And so, the American championship is Tulane against Army. Boise State and UNLV, the winner of that one will be the Mountain West champion. So I think that had Tulane not just gotten upset against Memphis, that game kind of got overlooked because it was played last Friday on Black Friday. It wasn't one of those Saturday marquee games, but Tulane suffered their second loss. So no, I think that would very much be in play had Tulane beaten Memphis, but Memphis went into New Orleans on the road and really, I think, knocked Tulane out of the college football playoff discussion. So I do think that the Big 12 is safe regardless of what happens between these two teams.
How proud do you feel that you predicted Iowa State to be in this position at the beginning of the year? You got to feel good, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, it does feel pretty good. I will say, in the manner that Iowa State won the Big 12, I didn't feel like I had a lot of bragging rights. I know they won their last 3 games, but I mean, losing to Texas Tech and Kansas back to back, it almost kind of felt like Iowa State in some ways limped in. And then Iowa State also had to have a lot of help. They had to have help from Kansas State. They had to have help from BYU. They had to have help with Colorado losing. And so in some ways, I don't know what it is, but it almost feels like to me Iowa State kind of backed their way in and Arizona State really earned it. Now, I still think Iowa State's a really good football team. And yes, it definitely feels good to get that one right when they were preseason picked 6th in the Big 12. But just in terms of these two teams and kind of the way they got here, I think Arizona State is the team that's definitely hotter. It's just Arizona State's not at full strength. That Arizona State team that was really hot is not the team that you're going to see on Saturday, unfortunately.
Okay, let's play the long-term game and look way ahead into the future here, James, for the last one about football, at least for today. Which team are you buying stock in for next year at this point in time?
Oh, man, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I look at I really think this league is young, especially at a lot of really important positions, most notably quarterback. I look at Baylor. Baylor won their last 6 games to finish 8-4. They're going to have guys almost their entire team back next season. Sawyer Robertson still has eligibility. Their star running back is a redshirt freshman. They have 2 running backs that are underclassmen. They have an elite receiver in Cameron who still has eligibility. Dave Aranda got the defense better than it was 2 seasons ago this past year. Still has, work to do, but they're young defensively. So I look at Baylor, and the other team is Texas Tech. They cleaned up in recruiting, had a really good class. They just hired the defensive coordinator away from Houston, who is an elite defensive mind. He's one of the top up-and-coming defensive coordinators in the country. So that's really going to help them. They had a really young defense. And I know that they have to replace Taj Brooks, but they really like these 2 true freshmen that were behind him this season. Baron Morton still has eligibility. They'll have their top 3 receivers back next season. I think the Big 12 goes through either Waco or Lubbock next season, but I think Arizona State's going to be in the conversation. I think Kansas State's going to be in the conversation. Depending upon what Colorado does in the transfer portal, I definitely think they're in the conversation. And then I think some of these teams that finish towards the bottom, I wouldn't be surprised to see Utah make a huge leap forward next year, UCF make a huge leap forward next year. I just think that the league is positioned really, really, really well to be just as chaotic next year. But I think maybe have a little bit more respect because a lot of these guys will be returners from this season's teams.
No, absolutely. James Westling, our guest here from Big 12 today on TuneIn Radio. All right, let's transition real quick for our final question. Basketball season is here, as I mentioned off the top of this conversation. You're a busy man out scouring across the country, covering games for ESPN. Well, what do you think about the Big 12 this year in basketball? I mean, many people think, of course, it'll be one of the best leagues, if not the best, once again.
Yeah, and I think the SEC, unfortunately, is going to challenge that, especially when you look at the way the SEC dominated the SEC ACC challenge. Auburn is a really good basketball team. Florida's a really good basketball team. Tennessee's absolutely stacked. Alabama, there are good basketball teams in that other conference. The Big 12, really outside of Kansas, I think the Big 12 has had a little bit of a disappointing start. Cincinnati was the second or third, I should say, highest ranked team in the most recent KenPom ratings. And then they lost the other night at Villanova. Iowa State only has one loss, and it was to Auburn, so that's not a bad loss. But then I look a little bit further down at these teams that were preseason picked in the top 10 nationally. Baylor already has a handful of losses. They're really struggling defensively. Houston's 4-3 and just lost to San Diego State the other night. And Arizona's 3-4. I mean, they don't even have a 500 record on the season in the non-conference. So the teams that were picked at the top, I think have kind of underachieved outside of Kansas, and probably Iowa State would be in that conversation. But I think once we get into league play, these teams are going to be a lot better come March. And I think there are a lot of teams that can make, deep runs. But right now in the non-conference, I've been a little bit surprised by some of these teams that have taken the losses that they have.
All right, you get a chance to do it again. Back up your talk from the beginning of the year. You said Iowa State would win football. Who are you picking in basketball?
Man, I think I just don't see Bill Self and Kansas not winning this league back-to-back years. They didn't win it last year. It was a bit of a down year for them, going 11-7 in conference, and it was the first time ever that Bill Self had lost double-digit games in a season, and they just completely retooled. So I think it's Kansas, and honestly, right now, I'd say Kansas by a mile. Now, I think there's potential for some of these other teams to be a little bit better when we get into league play and certainly get healthier. That's another thing. The league has suffered a lot of injuries, but Kansas just looks balanced. I think that they've got guys coming off the bench that are really good shooters and really good players, and that's something they really missed last season. So I think it's KU, no doubt about it.
Well, you were a lot ballsier with your football pick. The basketball one, not so much, but we'll allow it because it's pretty much the smart pick.
Yeah, I think so too. That was to be fair, that was a much easier question.
It was. You're right. James Wessling of Big 12 today. Thank you, James. Really appreciate the time as always. Always enjoy our conversations. We'll do it again soon. Be well.
All right, Ross. Thanks for the time.
Once again, great stuff there from James Wessling talking about Big 12 and what to expect in the championship game coming up here on Saturday. We'll get to our final break. We'll come back and wrap up the show with a quick NFL Power 5 for Week 14. This is the Morning Blitz.
This holiday season, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has the perfect gifts to make Christmas merry and bright. Need something special for that grill master? Check out their top line of grills and griddles from Blackstone, Traeger, and Weber. Guaranteed to make their holiday sizzle. Stocking stuffers, they've got you covered with tools, gadgets, and must-haves for every DIYer in your life. And tackle winter head-on with their powerful Eco snowblowers, perfect for clearing the way this season. Plus, spruce up your home for the holidays with a fresh coat of Benjamin Moore paint, or get ready for the new year with a stunning remodel. Enjoy the holidays this year with Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, with locations in Goodland and Colby.
The Red Tag sales event is going on at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, and the savings are rolling in. Right now, drive home with 0% APR on select popular Chevy models, making it the perfect time to upgrade. Or take advantage of 1.9% APR for 60 months, plus over $3,700 total value when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Imagine the possibilities in a new Chevy, from trucks to SUVs, all with these amazing savings. Stop by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, and find your perfect match, or online at hurlchev.com.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities, contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
with Ross Volkmer.
Just a couple of seconds left to go, minutes left to go on our show today. Max, you're going to have to go to the bathroom. You've been chugging water left and right. Are you gonna have
I
to-
always chug water. Do you even pay attention during the show? I chug water more than any other host
You
of a
are
radio
the,
show. I'm
you
so
are
hydrated.
You are the most hydrated man in the world. I don't know if that is a compliment or not, but you are definitely hydrated.
It's a fact is what it is. It is a fact.
Like I said, we got lots to get to in the program still with the NFL Power. This is one of those days where you wish you had another hour. Could have filled it for sure. On longer with James, and certainly could have gotten on some more thoughts on recruiting and things of that, but we only have an hour at this point in time, so we're going to power through. It's time for the NFL Power 5.
Alrighty, let's kick this thing off. Number 5, I've got the Seahawks versus the Cardinals, NFC West, two of the top in that division, which is kind of an interesting one. See how that one plays out. But Seahawks coming off of one of the sloppier wins we've seen all season against the Jets. Cardinals coming off a loss. These two teams are fun to watch. That's my number 5.
My number 5 is going to be Cleveland at Pittsburgh. The last time these two teams met, it was in a snow globe. And it was Cleveland that came back to get the win. I think Pittsburgh is out for revenge. Russell Wilson is playing well. Cleveland is entertaining with Jameis Winston. Whether it's good or bad, it's entertaining. And so that's why it's number 5 on my NFL Power 5. All right, moving on. Number 4.
I've got the Browns versus the Steelers at number 4. I think at an entertainment level, it could be higher, but I do agree. I think the Steelers are going to be out for revenge, and I think they're going to pour it onto the Browns. There's definitely a potential of that, but Jameis Winston is entertaining and must-see TV right now, so you got to put him in the top 5.
Number 4 for me, I go into the NFC West. We got Seattle at Arizona. This has always been an interesting game. It's a rivalry-type game. That defense of Seattle against Kyler Murray in Arizona. Arizona needs a bounce-back win. They really took a bad loss last week. So how does Arizona respond? That's number 4 for me in the NFL Power 5. On to number 3.
Number 3 for me is the Buffalo Bills, the best team in football right now, versus the Los Angeles Rams, who are kind of getting healthier, and their offense is starting to work a little bit better. This Rams team is still fighting for a spot potentially. The Bills are just cruising right now, so it'll be interesting to see, how these two teams match up. It's a rematch from the opening kickoff, I believe, after the Rams won the Super Bowl was the last time these two teams played. So we'll see how that goes. That's my number 3.
That is my number 3 as well. Josh Allen, once again, MVP. Taking on LA Rams team that, is very formidable on offense. They can really throw the football. They're very good at it. Stafford does a great job. He's got 2 really good wide receivers. Buffalo's got a defense that's playing pretty well despite missing some key pieces due to injury. I like that game. Buffalo at LA is number 3. Number 2?
Number 2, let's head to Kansas City. Sunday Night Football. Chargers versus the Chiefs. Chiefs have a chance to clinch the AFC West for I think the 9th straight year now, something crazy like that. Every time the Chiefs and Chargers play on Sunday Night Football, it is always a good one, and it's always high scoring. So I'm expecting maybe not the defense to recover this week, but the offense to take a step forward. Kansas City Chiefs fans, watch out. This could be a Mahomes classic.
Yeah, I think we're going to be on the same page on a lot of this stuff. Yes, I'm going with Chiefs and Chargers as well at number 2. The Chiefs haven't looked great. The Chargers just have, I think the Chargers slowly but surely have gotten better every week. It's been a very slow build, but I think it's coming up. Very slow. You're seeing it. And I don't know. There's something that Chargers defense is very good. We know the Chiefs just rarely lose. I still think this game is highly entertaining. I look forward to seeing how it all pans out. I really do. I really look forward to seeing how this game pans out. Chiefs hosting Chargers, no doubt. Number 2 best game this week in the NFL. And I'm guessing number 1 is tonight.
Yes, it is. It's the game tonight. Packers versus Lions. Look, the Packers are 9-3 and 3rd in their division. Makes absolutely no sense because the Vikings and the Lions are ahead of them. The Lions are, arguably the best team in football with the Bills right now. The Packers didn't have their best showing against the Lions in the rain of Lambeau. Now they're going to Detroit. This is a chance for them to kind of get their get back and really have a chance to finish with a higher seed, at least in the division, than finishing 3rd. So this is kind of a must win, not a must win, but if they want to get their placement higher in the division, they got to win this game. They got to take one from the Lions. So I'm super pumped for this game tonight. And yeah, I don't know. I think the Packers could take this one tonight, Ross. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think there's a chance. The Lions are they've looked like the most consistent and best team in the NFL throughout the course of this season. Offensive, defensive, special teams. They've looked like, if you had to hold a gun in my head and said, pick the Super Bowl winner, Lions.
Yeah.
That's the most complete team. The Packers, you just don't know what you're going to get day in and day out. Like, you could get a great game, and Josh Jacobs goes off for big numbers of yardage, and Jordan Love throws 3 touchdown passes without throwing another one to the other team. You just don't know. And if the Packers come out and play like we've seen at times this year where they do that, Lions could go down. But I don't know. Lions have been just too complete for me, I think. But it no doubt to me is the best game here in week number 14. No doubt week number 14.
Jordan Love has to just limit, like I said, I think on the first show I was ever on, got to limit the drunk moments, the drunk Jordan Love moments. Got to limit them.
No, he drunk in love. Yeah, that's what he is. Drunk in love. There you go. The NFL Power 5 for week 14, which kicks off tonight. Like we said, Packers at Lions tonight on Amazon Prime. All right, on to the walk-off.
A 3-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
Forgot to mention, we had JUCO basketball last night. Colby women with a win. They snap a 3-game skid. They beat Cloud 77-58. Holcomb's own Jarek Krulewski, career high 23 points, 6 made threes, improving Colby to 7-4. On the women's side, men also win. They get the victory 73-66. They are 8-3 on the season. Colby men off to a great start. Fort Hays Tech Northwest men handed their largest loss of the season. They shot just 33% for the game, lost at number 13 Cali County 94-58. They're just 1-7 and have 6 straight losses. The Tech ladies also suffer a wide loss, 113-44, as they drop to 0-9. Tonight you've got KU and K-State women in action as KU hosts Wichita State and K-State hosts South Carolina Upstate.
Yeah, and really quickly, if you do in the future want to hear my interviews with Coach Danford at Colby Community College, it'll be on 100.3 The Ride before our show around 7:00 every, I believe, Wednesday morning. It'll be on, and then also I'll probably have it on the pregame show for Friday night games, including the one tomorrow. Excited to get basketball going.
Tomorrow we will talk some high school basketball. Tonight, though, it is the opening night for the Goodland boys and girls wrestling team. They are at home. I know I said on the sports report but they're actually at home in the Max Jones Fieldhouse hosting Scott City for a duel to kick off the season. Best of luck to the wrestlers and also the brand new Cowboy wrestling coach in Jesse Gardner. So good luck to them and all that. So anyway, there you go. Winter sports season is here, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. It's been the Blitz. See you then.
Rocket 102.5.